How to live with difficult people when you don't have a choice. Living with difficult people is one of those silent tests of adult life. Sometimes you can't just turn your back, block them on WhatsApp and move on. It's a coworker, a family member, a boss, someone who's there every single day, draining your energy, poking at your emotional reactions, and putting your mental health to the test. And the worst part? They do it with an unsettling sense of normalcy, as if living with toxic people had no consequences at all. Hey, race the big controversy. We're constantly taught to put up with it, to let things slide, to avoid conflict at all costs. But almost no one talks about self-protection, about boundaries, about self-control, and most importantly, about prioritizing yourself without guilt. Don't take it personally sounds simple in theory, but when there's manipulation, disrespect, and emotional games involved, the body feels it long before the mind can make sense of it. And hey race, something freeing you're about to realize. Living with someone does not mean erasing yourself. There is defense without attack. There are short answers. There is strategic distance. And there is even exit planning, even when that exit isn't immediate. Living together can be temporary. Getting sick should never be the price. And what you're about to hear may completely change the way you deal with people who insist on crossing your boundaries. Avoid difficult people whenever possible. Whenever avoidance is an option, avoid without guilt. Running from toxic people isn't weakness. It's emotional intelligence applied in real life. Your mental health benefits the moment you understand that you don't have to stay in energy-draining environments just to prove maturity. Sometimes, the greatest sign of self-control is simply not being there. Avoiding someone doesn't mean disrespect, and it certainly doesn't mean attacking. It's a quiet act of self-protection, where you consciously choose where your time, attention, and peace go. If you already know a conversation always ends in stress or emotional reaction, why insist? Prioritizing yourself starts with small decisions. Not going, not responding, leaving earlier. A simple example, that gathering that always turns into criticism disguised as a joke. You can suddenly have plans, change your route, or keep contact to a minimum. Strategic distance is also defense. This isn't about drama. It's about self-respect and understanding that not every battle deserves your presence. And that leads us to something even more important. Prioritize your mental health. Prioritizing mental health isn't a luxury. It's a basic need like sleeping and drinking water. When you're around toxic people, the body reacts before the mind does. Constant tension, irritability, a tiredness that never really goes away. No relationship is worth more than your emotional stability. And once you truly understand that, the way you position yourself in the world changes. Many people think prioritizing yourself is selfish. But selfishness is expecting someone to burn themselves out just to keep others comfortable. Taking care of your mind is an act of self-protection and also an act of self-respect. A good place to start is noticing how you feel after certain interactions. Drained or at peace? That answer already tells you whether that environment deserves your energy. In practice, this may mean setting boundaries, reducing contact, or quietly starting an exit plan. Books like The Body Keeps the Score or The 4 Agreements help you recognize internal signals you may have ignored for years. Because when a mind collapses, everything else goes with it. And that's often when cutting or reducing contact becomes the healthiest move before the next step. Cut contact at the first signs of toxicity. The first sign of toxicity rarely comes as yelling. It usually shows up disguised as a joke, sarcasm, or excessive demands. When you ignore these warnings, the cost shows up later in your mental health and emotional reactions. Cutting contact early is self-protection, not overreaction. Many people wait for enough proof to walk away. But relationships aren't courtrooms. If an interaction consistently causes discomfort, mental confusion, or a sense of manipulation, that's already enough. Early distance saves time, energy, and prevents deeper damage. Not taking it personally helps you act with clarity instead of guilt. In practice, cutting contact can be simple. Stop replying. Reduce meetups. Keep responses short and objective. No long explanations. No emotional justifications. This is defense. This is self-control in action. And it's a smart way to prioritize yourself before things escalate. No amount of money is worth getting sick. There's a dangerous myth that says everything is tolerable when there's money involved. But the bill always comes, and it's expensive. No paycheck compensates for sleepless nights, constant anxiety, and declining mental health. When toxic people are part of the environment, your body becomes the battlefield. Slowly, stress starts to feel normal, like part of the game. But that's not resilience. That's emotional neglect. Money can be recovered. Vital energy cannot. Self-protection also means recognizing when staying is making you sick from the inside. Try this exercise. Imagine your life 5 years from now under the same emotional pressure. What changes? Your mood? Your relationships? Your health? That reflection alone can trigger a silent exit plan. Because getting sick to sustain a toxic environment was never success. And that connects directly to the next challenge. When you can't walk away work or family. Sometimes distance isn't possible. The difficult person is your boss, a direct coworker, or a family member you see often. In these cases, the focus shifts. Less confrontation, more self-control. Here, coexistence becomes a survival strategy. When you can't leave, you reduce impact. Minimal contact, objective conversations, short answers. This isn't coldness. It's defense. The fewer openings for manipulation, the fewer emotional explosions. Not taking it personally becomes a trainable skill. Think like a chess player. Every move has intention. Avoid sharing personal details. Keep conversations essential. Protect your energy. This posture maintains respect without exposure. And over time, you realize that putting up with it doesn't mean erasing yourself. It means buying time until you can act more decisively. Learning to endure strategically until you can leave. Enduring doesn't have to mean suffering in silence. Here, endurance means intelligence, self-control, and strategy. It's knowing this phase is temporary, and that you don't have to react to everything toxic people throw at you. The strategy starts with less exposure. Less explanation, less emotion, more objectivity, short responses, neutral tone, zero participation in manipulation games. This dramatically reduces emotional reactions and works as silent armor. A helpful trick is to treat this phase as internal training. Each interaction becomes practice in not taking things personally. Meanwhile, you strengthen your mind and prepare your next move. Because endurance only makes sense when there's a plan. And that brings us here. Planning your exit. If you need to stay, you need a plan to leave. Exit planning is self-protection with hope. It changes your internal posture. You stop feeling trapped and start acting with intention even while still surrounded by toxicity. Planning doesn't involve announcements or drama. It's silent, strategic, personal, saving money, looking for new opportunities. Learning something new, strengthening connections. This movement reduces anxiety and restores a sense of control essential for mental health and self-control. As the plan matures, the present becomes lighter. Provocations hurt less. Emotional reactions decrease. Knowing there's an exit changes everything, and it prepares you for a difficult truth. Accept that difficult people rarely change. This realization hurts a little but frees you a lot. Toxic people rarely change because, most of the time, they don't see a problem in their behavior. While you suffer, they continue draining your energy as if nothing is happening. When you accept that you can't control others, something shifts inside you. Frustration fades. Emotional reactions lose strength. The focus returns to self-protection. This isn't giving up on people. It's giving up on the illusion that insisting will create respect or empathy. And that leads to an unavoidable truth. You don't have the power to change anyone. As painful as it is to admit, you can't change anyone but yourself. Trying to fix toxic people usually leads to frustration and mental exhaustion. This effort fuels guilt, anger, and emotional reactions that keep you stuck. Once you understand this, something reorganizes internally. The need to convince, explain, or save others begins to fade. Self-control replaces emotional chaos. In practice, this means not engaging with provocation, accepting others' limits, and focusing on what's under your control, your choices, your boundaries, your distance when possible. And that opens the door to the final realization. Real change only happens when the person sees a benefit. True change doesn't come from external pressure. It comes from internal awareness. Toxic people only change when staying the same costs more than changing. As long as manipulation or disrespect benefits them, there's no motivation to shift. Understanding this protects your mental health. You stop personalizing others' behavior. You reduce automatic emotional reactions. This is emotional maturity. And in practice, it reinforces the importance of boundaries, distance, and short responses. When you change your posture, the system changes not to save them, but to save yourself. Focus on controlling your emotional responses. Controlling emotional responses is like installing shock absorbers between you and chaos. Toxic people provoke precisely to knock you off balance. And when that works, your energy disappears fast. Self-control here is one of the most powerful forms of self-protection. Start by identifying your triggers, specific phrases, tones, attitudes. When you recognize the pattern, reacting automatically becomes easier to avoid. Simple practices help. Deep breathing, pausing before responding, writing feelings down. Books like Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman explain this process deeply. The more you master your reactions, the smaller the impact of stress. Reducing the impact of stress on you. Reducing stress impact is a natural extension of self-control. When dealing with toxic people, the issue isn't just what they do, but what it creates inside you. Mental health care means releasing tension before it becomes illness. Create decompression rituals. Walks, exercise, music, silence. They don't erase the external problem, but strengthen your internal defenses. Organize your routine with small escape valves. Light conversations, inspiring reading. The less stress you carry, the easier it is to maintain boundaries. Don't take it personally. Not taking things personally is one of the strongest forms of emotional self-protection. Toxic people project frustrations, insecurities, and unresolved pain onto those nearby. Understanding this reduces emotional reactions and gives your mind room to breathe. This doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It means stopping the transformation of others' behavior into attacks on your identity. The problem is rarely you. A helpful mental phrase. This is not mine. Over time, you react less, defend yourself better, and start to notice something important. Toxic people are often wounded or overwhelmed. Many toxic people don't wake up wanting to hurt others. They wake up already hurt. Unresolved pain, frustration, and emotional overload spill into close relationships. Seeing this creates emotional distance. Not pity, not justification. Clarity. You observe more, react less, and that clarity leads to a crucial understanding. Trauma explains behavior, it doesn't justify abuse. Understanding someone's past may create empathy, but it should never cancel self-protection. Trauma explains behavior. It does not justify abuse, disrespect, or manipulation. Confusing empathy with permission puts you last. Prioritizing yourself means understanding that compassion does not require emotional submission. In practice, this looks like firm posture, short responses, and distance when needed. You can understand someone's pain without carrying it. Living with difficult people was never about winning arguments. It was always about protecting mental health and personal dignity. Along this journey, you've seen that self-protection, boundaries, self-control, and even distance aren't radical acts, they're conscious choices. Dealing with toxic people requires strategy, not impulse. So now reflect. Were you still reacting automatically? Where is your energy being drained unnecessarily? What short, firm, respectful responses can you start using today? Small posture changes create massive internal shifts. And maybe the biggest lesson is this. Defense is not attack. Setting boundaries is self-care. Calm is not weakness, it's emotional intelligence in action. Where there is respect, contact can exist. Where there isn't, exit planning becomes a priority. No one was born to be an emotional punching bag. Now tell me, what are you going to apply first in your life? If this content helped you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following the next videos. There's much more clarity, emotional strength, and freedom coming your way.